Yeah.
Just on the killing of the Hamas deputy leader, the head of Hezbollah said today that it was a major, dangerous crime about which we cannot be silent. Do you have any reaction to those comments, and how concerned are you about any reaction from Hezbollah?
So we have seen Hezbollah launching strikes across the border into Israel since, well, of course, since before October 7th, but we certainly have seen them ramped up since October 7th. You've seen Israel respond, of course. There have been strikes back and forth across the blue line going back for months now. It is why we have sent this very direct message to Hezbollah, to other entities in the region, that now is not the time to think of escalating further. And you've seen us take deterrent steps to deliver that message. You've seen us take diplomatic steps to deliver it, and we'll continue to deliver it. I don't want to respond specifically to every comment they make, because they've made comments in the past of similar nature, but we continue to believe it is not in Hezbollah's interest, just as it is not in Israel's interest, to escalate this conflict in any way.
And then were you given any advance notice about this action?
We were not.
Can I follow up on that, Matt? When were you informed about the strike in Beirut?
I'm not going to get into that specific detail, but we were not informed in advance.
And then on the explosions today, you said you both don't have any independent information, but also you have no information that Israel's involved. So are you entertaining the fact that Israel could have been involved? You just don't know yet?
But we just do not have any information. We have no information to suggest that they were.
Have you spoken with Israeli officials since this
We
morning?
speak to Israeli. We speak to. I will say we speak to Israeli officials multiple times every day. And I won't get into those conversations, but as I said, we don't have any information to believe they were involved.
And then on the hostages, last week there was confirmation that one of the American hostages had died in Hamas custody. Are there any updates on the other American hostages who are still being held?
They are not. There are still 6 Americans who remain unaccounted for.
Any updates on discussions over them?
No, we continue to work to try to bring all of them home, as we try to work to bring other hostages who are not American citizens home. It's a top priority for everyone in this government, and we will not rest until they are brought home. But I, as always, don't want to comment on those negotiations or those discussions from here. Yeah, go ahead, Saeed.
Thank you. You said that Saleh Arouri was a brutal terrorist and so on. So you think that Israel did the right thing by assassinating a leader of Hamas? I'm just asking you.
I will say that he was a brutal terrorist with civilian blood on his hands, and I will leave it at that.
Right. So Israel was within its right to conduct this
I
operation?
will let my comments speak for themselves. You can let your comments speak for themselves.
Okay, that's fine. Since our last briefing 2 weeks ago, I believe, there's been many Palestinians, or many thousands of Palestinians, killed, injured, displaced, and so on. How do you see this thing ending? I mean, do you see that Israel is achieving its goals, or its stated goals, which is to decapitate Hamas, change the leadership, go after them, and so on? Do you see them achieving those goals? Are we closer to an end game in your view?
So
than
we are.
were, let's say, 2 weeks ago.
So we are still in the middle of this conflict. Israel has talked about the fact that they will continue to prosecute it. You've heard us talk about the fact that we've engaged in discussions with them about where the conflict is going and when they may shift to a lower intensity combat operation. We will continue to engage in those conversations with them. They have killed a number of Hamas fighters. Obviously, the leadership of Hamas is still intact in Gaza. They continue to pursue them. It continues to be a goal that we believe is a worthy one. When and how this will end is not something I'd want to speculate on from here.
So you're saying that Israel should prosecute this war until these goals are achieved?
I'm going to say where I will answer that by referring to the principles that we've laid out for how we see the future of Gaza, and that is a Gaza that is under Palestinian governance, but in a Gaza that cannot exist as a launching pad for terrorists' attacks against the innocent civilians of Israel.
I have a couple of questions on the West Bank, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Now, you issued a statement yesterday on both Minister Smotrich and Ben Gvir on their statements and so on. You denounced what they said and so on. Are we likely to see any kind of consequences or any kind of sanctions as a follow-up on your statement?
So I never want to, and you should not interpret this to mean anything other than what it is, which is we never talk about any kind of sanctions, designations before they take place. So you should, and you should, as I said, it's a general rule that you should not overinterpret by my invoking it here. But we did think it was important to issue that statement because the rhetoric that we have seen from those two individuals was inflammatory. It was irresponsible. And it was in direct contradiction of the policy of the government of Israel that has been repeatedly articulated to us, including by the Prime Minister himself. So we have been told that those statements do not reflect the policy of the government of Israel. We believe that is the correct decision. The Secretary has made very clear on a number of occasions that there must be no forced resettlement of Palestinians from Gaza, that Gaza is Palestinian land and should remain so. And we will continue to make that clear to the government of Israel, and we expect them to make that clear as well.
But, you know, with Gaza becoming an unlivable place in many ways, this is a heightened likelihood, isn't it?
The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire, which is why we are working, and we're working over the holiday period to try to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and why we will continue to make that a top priority. But what we hear in our engagements with Palestinian leadership, with Palestinian civil society leaders, with Palestinians, is that they do not want to be forcibly removed from Gaza, that they want to remain in Gaza, and that is a choice that we support, that we support and that we fully endorse.
And lastly, on the West Bank, we have seen a great many incursions in the last few days. Almost every night there's some sort of an Israeli army raid in some town. Yesterday there were like 6 or 7 towns and so on. What is your position on this? What is your take? Are you counseling the Israelis not, let's say, to raid places like the Jenin camp or Nablus or Hebron, the many places that they have done over the past few days?
So Israel certainly has a right to carry out legitimate counterterrorism operations, and we support their ability to do so and their right to do so. But as always, we urge them in carrying out those legitimate operations, those legitimate counterterrorism operations, to do so in full compliance with international humanitarian law. Nike, go ahead.
Follow up on hostage release. What is the U.S. assessment on the proposal by Egypt for the release of the remaining hostages after the Hamas leader said that those hostages can only be released on their term? And separately, if I may,